Hello, everybody. This is R.K. Mullins, author of Time for a Serial Killer, Confessions Before Death, Satan's Revenge. And don't forget now, that new one out there, that memoir, a little short little story, about 53 pages, ain't that bad, but it's part of my life, about a man who saved my life, or I credit him for saving my life. It can help some people, and some it may just entertain, but give it a shot. Well, but today we have Mrs. Linda Dickman on board. You know what? I forgot to ask what the name of the book was. You know me, absent-minded as all get out, right? But then again, hey, it wouldn't be me, would it? We're going to go with this one right now. Hey, Miss Linda, you take it away. Give us an
Well,
interview.
thank you so much. Thank you so very much. It's been well worth waiting for. So the name of my book is called Robes, the Art of Being Covered. And by way of explanation, I will tell you that it is a book of poetry. Now, what happens when you say the word poetry is very funny. People either go, oh, or they get polite on you and they say, oh, how nice. And you know they're never going to look at it. But what I love about poetry is that it's a way of saying things with less words and getting a big message across. So I am inspired by a lot of things, and I would like to start right off the bat with reading something that I wrote while sitting in the choir loft, watching this little kid on the floor during the children's moment, and it's called the children's moment.
Okay, go ahead.
For the children's moment, for all the beautiful brothers, including mine, there at the foot of the minister, listening for the story, she sat, draped in black velvet, cream organza, gold sparkles, her long hair gathered in a crushed curl of red flowing down her back. She realized her dress was unzipped. She simply turned to her brother and mouthed, "Please, zip me." No words, a quizzical look, then his awkward hand found the zipper and coaxed it up the track. Peace on earth. And that's it. That's just one little piece of it. So I noticed that from a lot of things from the choir loft, and I was a school librarian for over 40 years and just love kids. And so I'm always watching what they're doing. So that's just one thing, you know, writers, as you know, notice things. If you're trying to get a mood, you look, if it's a dark mood, you go for dark colors and dark words. And so when you're painting a picture, no matter what kind of thing you're writing, but a poet has to do it in less words. Right. I started writing poetry when I was about 10 years old, living in California. My dad was in the Navy and we lived on a Navy base, and they sent me to summer camp, and we went up to the highest mountains we went up to in the Sierras and went to camp, and we were told to bring a marble notebook. And I was like, okay, I get thermos, sleeping bag, flashlight, but a marble notebook? Why? And so it was to write. And I've been writing about pine trees and nature and things ever since. So nice. That's just one thing that inspires me is nature.
Right.
I watch people all the time. I listen to people all the time. I had so much fun listening to your shows and seeing the way that you lifted people up. And so at the last thing I'm going to read is going to be dedicated to you and the people that were in the profession that you had for so many years.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. So tell me about your day.
Oh, my day?
Yeah, did you have a good day? Was it worth it?
Actually, no. No.
Was it a good truck?
I used truck, and I didn't pay much for it. I only paid $400 for it. But it's got low mileage, under 200,000. I know I can flip it for a lot more. But I'm having issues with the PASS system that's in it, which stands for Passive Aggressive Security System. All right. Okay. That's what all the car manufacturers started doing those back in the late 90s. And what it will do, if it doesn't match up, then it will shut down. And I'm having getting it to match up.
Oh gosh. Well, passive aggressive security sounds like some of the teachers I worked with.
Sounds like some of
Just
the
kidding.
drivers I had.
Okay.
But that's my day in a nutshell. It wasn't, it wasn't all that great. What's basically referred to, y'all? I put her off for 2 daggone days, if I'm not badly mistaken, right?
Yeah, I
Half
get it.
you were wanting to be on my show, beyond me. I wouldn't have. Somebody puts me off for 2 days. I'm like, okay, then you need to come chase me instead of me chasing you. That's how I feel about it. This great lady, I mean, this is a grand lady, trust me, that she wants to be on the show so bad, she was willing to let me put her off and work with me on what I'm doing to try to get her on the show the way she wants to be on the show. And I'm sorry, but that my respect goes off to you, ma'am, uh, for putting up with a bunch of crap you didn't need to.
Well, let me tell you, one of the things I learned in driving back and forth to the South for several years was a phrase I will always love, and it isn't bless your heart, because I know what that really means. It is, it is, I appreciate that. And when you hear that said, it is always with such warmth. And I will tell you, I appreciate that because I honestly had so much fun composing what I wanted to do this evening. That's why I asked you the questions I did about what kind of movies you liked. And so and what, because I listened to you talk about horror and I thought, what has he seen that he can write so well about horror? So I can't imagine. And I was advised that it might be too dark for me to read, but
Back in the day, I used to be in the EMS, and
wow.
people mangled and having to try to put them back together to try to save their lives. That is probably where a lot of stuff came from. But everybody has a dark side to them. I don't care who they are. They either suppress it or try to suppress it, or in the worst case scenarios, you have your Dahmers and all the other sickos out there in the world, right?
Yes.
Not just killers. I'm talking about all the sickos, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
See that we allow our dark side to come out in our art form, and
Well,
I think
I will tell you that I ran a poetry group for a bunch of kids for many years, but this last group that I had was phenomenal. And one of the little boys, his name is Paul, he said to me one day, Mrs. Dickman, do you ever write dark poetry or angry poetry? And I said, yes. I said, Paulie, there's basically three kinds of poetry. And it's basically three kinds of writing. There's the writing you do for others. There's the writing you do for yourself. And there's the writing that you do that nobody ever sees. You know, you can write for friends and you can write for, for the public, but there's that writing that nobody ever sees. And he says, well, what do you call those poems? And I said, my angry poems. And he said, well, can you share them? And I said, no, I made a deal with myself. I don't share any of them until I've forgiven the person that I wrote about. And so he was like, are you going to read one? So I finally got to a place where I could read one. He was in like fourth grade, fifth grade. And he said, I read it. And he goes, okay, you're safe. I had no idea what you said. And I thought that was so great because kids, they want to know. They want to know.
And the old saying, out of the mouths of babes, they ain't lying. That's the one group that's always going to tell the truth, no matter how much it hurts you.
Oh baby, oh baby. So the second thing I would like to share with you is not in my book, but it is a part of the story I talked to you about before about having an actor in common. You said you had seen Madman Mars, and Madman Mars lives up the street from me. He is my neighbor.
Okay.
And I feel completely safe there, but don't tell him I said so. His name is Paul Ehlers, and one Halloween, we went up there trick-or-treating. I took my kids who were then small. So I wrote this poem and brought it to him in April, and we have been friends ever since. So it's almost 30 years now. And I wanted to read this to you, and I know he's going to watch later, but I wanted to read this to you because poetry comes also from encounters. When you meet somebody, like you said, with it being an EMT, you got to see things that you really didn't sign up that you thought you'd see, but you saw them and you've made them into something even better. You've made them into a story. So my encounter is called Mr. Halloween, and it's short, but it's fun.
Okay.
Mr. Halloween. Of all the stops for trick or treat that we have ever seen, the place that we still talk about is Mr. Halloween's. Greeted by the missus, aglow in eerie light, he then advanced as if entranced out into the night. Appearance, oh, so scary, yet countenance serene. We tentatively ventured forth toward Mr. Halloween. To the door he slowly moved, cloaked as he did lean, upon a cane ornately carved, oh, Mr. Halloween! As we offered him our sacks, his face transformed, became with comments, ah, very good, he greeted each by name. His face was rough and goblin-like, his voice was gruff but full of care. Even though we weren't so sure, we moved upon the stair. His wife, a witch of beauty, lit up as she observed each childish face as they moved close, rallying their nerve. The love they shared betwixt them shone us so clearly through. 'Twas magnified as they did gaze upon us, just we two. We really knew they loved us instead of knowing fear. We decided we'd go back maybe twice next year. Now, we have made that a tradition.
Right.
And we have written a poem for almost 30 years every Halloween, and we go and do a private reading for them.
Very nice. I mean, that was a very nice poem. I liked it. And how did he
Thanks.
first gave it to him?
Yeah, and he's also, I mean, in addition to being an actor, he's a voiceover person, and she's an artist, and so we have had fun back and forth with our talents.
I imagine so. I imagine.
Yeah.
But it sounds like Mr. Halloween was like most of the haunts in our lives are not nearly as bad as we make them out to be.
You're right. And one of the things that he has taught me is to be able to deal with the horror and not be so afraid of all the scary things, because in the darkness there is such beauty sometimes. And there, you know, when you look out in the moon or you look out at a new moon and see the things that still shine, it's just so, it's really fun. And poets notice things, you know, sights and sounds and feels and touches and tastes. So when you started talking about your food on, you know, that you were cooking the other night and your gumbo, and I thought, oh, I wonder, it was too bad you couldn't make it so people could smell it over the screen, you know, because I'll bet.
They still ain't come out with smell-o-vision, but they will, I guess.
Well, I think it's okay right now because there's some people I wouldn't want to be around if it worked.
You and me both, ma'am. You and me both, I tell you. But, you know, you're talking about darkness. Out of darkness comes light. Without darkness, you cannot have any light. That is not a quote by me. I can't even remember who the heck said it, but it's one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard, because they are talking about not just the darkness of night and day. They're talking about the darkness within our own hearts. And it doesn't have anything to do with my books, you know, that I write, but it does have a lot to do with life and the things that we can learn from each other. And like me and Miss Linda here, she's learning from my art, you know, and the genre that I write. And I don't know poetry from Blue Moon, you know, baboons or whatever, but I'm learning from her. And to me, that's what this is all about. It's more of a community trying to come together than just peddling books.
Absolutely. So I will just give you a little bit of an overview about what's in Robes, the Art of Being Covered. I was thinking, you know, my husband and Santa Claus had an inn, And one Christmas I came downstairs and there were these beautiful bathrobes, Victoria's Secret, a black one and a royal purple one. And they were gifts that he thought up all by himself. And I was thinking about the love that propelled that gift. And so I thought, well, we're not just robed in bathrobes, but we're also robed in love, and we're robed in light, or we're robed in darkness, or we're robed in snow, or we're robed in pine needles, or there's just so many things. And so that began the story of how I put the book together. I looked at the ground and I thought, wow, we were on our way to a funeral one day, and I noticed that the ground was robed in green and vineyards and all kinds of things, because we live in an area on Long Island that has a lot of vineyards, and they're beautiful to drive by. So I mean, they're also beautiful to go to, but the visualness of them are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also wrote one about words with friends, because games, sometimes the words seem to just fall into a theme, and if you're looking for it. So I wrote one about that too.
Well, I mean, if you take a look at most games, even no matter whether they're electronic or board games or whatever, they were all originally designed to teach.
Absolutely.
And actually, I mean, and the most significant thing that they were teaching was socialism, how to interact with one another, not socialism as in politics.
Right. Being social. Yes, absolutely. Candy, and I saw one this past Christmas. Somebody put up a post about Candyland and another game, and one of them was for helping a little kid who didn't feel like they were a part of the group. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was written for a kid who felt left out. So there's always a motivation to include. In this book, I invite the reader to let themselves be robed in many different things. And I try to give you sights and sounds and smells and tastes and touches. But the overall message is always love.
Exactly. And in my books, every writer I know, they put some part of them in those books, in the books they write.
Absolutely.
It can't even be seen what they do. In my book, Time for a Serial Killer, the main character, David, he's a womanizing, snot-nosed, absolute B word. All right.
Yes.
And he's a male chauvinist pig in every form. And I'm just the opposite. I'm a Southern gentleman. That's the way I was raised. That's the way I know how to be. That's the only way I know how to be. So I put that in there as my disdain for how certain men treat women.
What a great word. Disdain.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great word.
In Confessions Before Death, again, the word disdain just doesn't even really do it justice. It's about, it's more about, I can't give away too much of it. It's about that doesn't exist, that should never exist. And I'm not talking about a color or creed or religion. This is sexuality, and it's about that kind of hate that should never exist. One person's sexuality to another person's sexuality has nothing to do with one another, and why that should ever come up, I have no clue. I'm clueless. But that's one of my little things that I don't like. I mean, I hate hatred. I hate people hating for no reason, and there's never a good reason to hate. It doesn't exist. That's enough of me being on my soapbox. Get back to Miss Linda.
Okay, so I was thinking about one of the times I launched a new collection of poetry. I was at my girlfriend's coffee house, and we read, and she was one of those people who, when she was in school, she heard the word poetry and she ran the other way.
Yeah.
Because it was so boring. Yeah. And so we started to read, and the different readers got up and they made her laugh. And when she was done, she got back up and took the microphone and she said, "Who knew poetry could be so much fun?" She said, "This is funny." And I tried to do that. I've just finished a collection. We're going to be seeing each other a lot in the next year or so because I've got several other books coming out. But
Nice.
one of them is about a road trip that we took and stopping at a rest stop in the middle of nowhere, like Wyoming or Montana. And we stopped. There was no cars that indicated that there was an attendant. There were no lights. There was nothing. And still we took a chance that we might be able to go use the restroom, right? And just, I don't want to give away too much of that, but I will say that, we absolutely got to the door and it was open, and we were shocked, and they were, there was all kinds of hallelujah. So, the things that we write about can be funny and personal, and so I also wanted to bring in that one of the things we noticed on all the road trips, that we take a lot of road trips, and one of the things that we are so extremely amazed at is the courtesy and the care of truckers. We have been taken care of and guided and watched over so many times. And so, pardon?
Ain't bad people.
No, not at all. So you let me know when we're getting close to the end, and I have one to share with you.
And I say, let's share that one.
Okay, so it's time. This is dedicated to Homer, Doug, Chris, and Keith. And it's called The Angels with 18 Wheels. The cattle on 1,000 hills are what my father owns. We thought we'd seen all of them, but there was more he'd shown. Herds of 18-wheelers, north, south, east, and west, trucker angels guiding us as we pursued our quest, warning us of hazards, of danger up ahead. Their courtesy and vigilance brought grateful tears instead. No fear, no anxiety as we rounded downhill curves. These truckers led us cautiously, watched that we didn't swerve. They led us through the weather, watched as we changed lanes, doffed their hats at truck stops, their courtesy untamed. We've crisscrossed this America. Wherever we have roamed, trucker angels watched us till we made it safely home. Steering tons of metal, cargo in their hold, the cargo in the driver's seat, much more precious now than gold.
That's beautiful. I really appreciate
Thank you. I wrote I wrote it last night, and I wrote it for you.
Thank you. I would love for
You're welcome.
I would love for you to send me a copy of it so I can paste it.
I will. I will tell you that there's a good chance it's going to make it into one of the road trip books, because I will tell you that before cell phones, we were driving down south. My friend had a trucker friend, and she told him what car we were going in. And we had, what do you call, like a convoy of escort.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, there was always someone looking out for us.
Oh, yeah.
And we were so thankful.
Yeah. A lot of people out there think truck drivers are the dredge of the South or of the world, period. But people, we just like y'all. But the thing about it is, we're out there making a living on that hard pavement to make sure that the commodities that each and every one of you so desire to have and need to have in most cases gets where it needs to be in a timely fashion. This time of year is most hazardous for us drivers, not just because of the winter weather, but because of the what we call four-wheelers.
Yes.
Automobiles.
Who don't know how to drive.
Chances you don't need to take. By cutting us off and not giving us enough room, we're driving, as far as you know, we're driving an 80,000-pound tank that cannot stop on a quarter, much less a damn dime. And if we have to
Absolutely.
come on the brakes on and that pavement's got ice on it, got news for you. It ain't gonna be pretty for anybody.
No.
Take
We-
we take um, we are challenged by the government. That that challenge for us as professional truck drivers is to watch out for the pedestrian or the,
Four-wheelers.
and to take you guys into consideration first and foremost. But yet, time and time again, we defend you all, but no one defends us.
Uh, my friend Doug drives for a candy company locally, and he was reporting about things that were happening where people were protesting the truck drivers. And I thought, I'm going to follow your rules and I'm going to leave that be, but I'm going to say there's no reason for it, because we had so much respect for y'all. Because so we're leaving Wyoming and we're coming east,
Yes.
and we see behind us Armageddon in the sky. So dark, and you could tell it was a blizzard. And as we're driving out on 80, and we're driving east on 80, and my husband said, okay, let's drop down to 70. As we are getting ready to get off of 80, we see these things that say blizzard warning.
Mm-hmm.
And we see all the trucks coming the other way.
Yep.
And there's a poem about that too, coming up.
I mean, I tell people I used to train young drivers or even older drivers that wanted to learn how to drive. And I tell them a story that's actually 100% true. I was coming up through Wyoming. I was on 25. Got up through there, got on 80, going across Cheyenne and hitting, going over toward Rollins. And you know that mountain I'm talking about right there. It's Eagle Mountain, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. And I looked in the mirror. My tires on the left side were off the ground on the trailer. My student poked his head out the window or out the curtain and said, "Everything all right?" I said, "I don't know. What do you think about that? Look right there in the mirror." He saw those tires and sat down. And in less than a second, I had to make decisions on saving my life, saving my load, and saving my student. That most people couldn't make if they tried to. But due to the training I've had over the years and the training I instilled in my students, I was able to set those tires back down on the pavement and not roll that truck. And afterwards, I told my student how to do it right. And I did it the right way, but I told him how to do it as well. I taught him how. Hopefully, he's able to pass that on to other drivers later on in his life.
And that's what all good teachers want for their students.
Yeah.
They want them to be safe. They want them to have practical skills, and
Yes.
they don't want to do everything for them. They want them to learn it and want to learn it for themselves, which is why I'll probably invite you to write a poem at some point.
Good luck on that one, honey. I ain't done a poem since, I don't know, primary school.
I look forward to it.
I used to draw back in the day. I was actually a pretty daggone good artist back then. I haven't done it in years, so I couldn't do it if I wanted to right now. I used to be really good at it. I got expelled for two of my paintings.
Expelled?
Yeah, they were considered to be, well, suspended, expelled, whatever, 2 weeks off without
Yep.
pay.
Suspension. Yep.
And one of them was a fish walking across the bottom. A fish walking across the bottom of the ocean with two birds flying. And the other one that got me expelled, a cartoon of my friend at the time and his pregnant girlfriend.
Oh gosh, God forbid you should tell the truth.
No,
I believe you.
Miss Linda, our time has come to an end on this. We went a little over, but that's all right.
Sorry.
Nah, heck no, don't apologize. I'd rather go over and have fun than for it to stay within the time frame, be bored. Yeah, right, y'all? But anyway, Miss Linda, you give us a closing that you're happy with.
A closing that I'm happy with. I am so excited to be here, and I am so excited to be associated with an art form that allows a slow reader like myself, who grew up having trouble reading, to use my words to paint pictures for people. And I invite you to come along and be robed in the art of being covered in words, in love, in poetry.
I tell you what, people, there ain't nothing like a good book of poetry. My favorite poet happens to be, I like just about all the people I know, Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. But I also enjoyed Whitman as well. So, I mean, I wasn't all, I might sound like I'm an uneducated idiot. Kind of maybe.
Not at all.
I got a little bit of, I got a little bit of smarts in there some damn way. But I'm only going to be myself. I don't care how my education follows or how it doesn't follow. If you
You're
can't
still learning.
don't do it. Right, Miss
Yeah.
Linda?
Absolutely.
All right, Miss Linda, it was great having you on the show. You have an open invitation. I don't give these out lightly, but I do give them out. An open invitation. Anytime your next book comes out, or any book comes out, you get on this show.
Thank you so very much, Keith.
You're welcome to be there.
Thank you. Yep.
Hi, everybody. This is R.K. Mullins, author of Time for a Serial Killer, host of Author to Author with Miss Linda Dickman today. And don't forget now, Confessions Before Death, Satan's Revenge. That one, Time for a Serial Killer, is tame compared to that one. Trust me. And The Drunken Savior, about a man that actually saved my life. Not physically, but, emotionally and soulfully. Other than that, y'all have a great night now. You hear?